difference between reviewing a book and criticizing an author as a person. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's reading vlog, I'm going to be reading a book that I have been waiting to get my hands on for years now, and that is Just Friends by Haley Pham. This is Haley Pham's debut novel. It is a second chance romance following Blair and Declan, who were childhood best friends, and then I believe they had some sort of falling out where they didn't speak to each other for a few years. But in this book, Blair ends up moving back home because her aunt is sick, and obviously she's going to have to see Declan if she's moving back home. And I believe the story follows them as they kind of reconnect and confront whatever happened to them in the past that caused them to have that falling out. And it honestly sounds like it's going to be right up my alley. I love childhood best friends to lovers. I love second chance romance. I love small town vibes. So I honestly could not be more excited to pick this one up. And I've actually heard a lot of mixed opinions about this book. There's been a lot of controversy about this book lately, and a lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it. I really just want to read it for myself and see how I feel about it, but I feel like a lot of people who are hating it are really just hating on Haley in general. I don't think it has anything to do with the writing, so I'm going into this with a very open mind. And I actually did start it last night, kind of like my before bed read. I got about 4 chapters in, and I swear I did not want to put this book down and go to bed. So I'm excited to keep reading and getting to know our characters and the world and everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump back into this, and I will update you whenever I have any thoughts. I'm about halfway through with Just Friends, and it is safe to say that I am absolutely adoring this book so far. We are getting dual timeline, which I absolutely love. So we're getting glimpses of Blair and Declan's friendship and relationship from the past, and I think eventually we're going to get to see what happened that kind of caused them to have that falling out where they didn't speak to each other for years. And then we're also getting the present timeline where Blair is dealing with the grief of losing her great aunt. And then she's actually home for just the summer, so she wanted a job while she was there for the summer. And the coffee shop that she ends up applying for, the manager ends up being Declan, so they're having to spend a lot of time together at this coffee shop doing work together, which obviously is making for some awkward moments. However, the writing in this book is not as bad as everybody on the internet has made it out to seem. A lot of people are saying that this is middle grade level writing, and I honestly do not agree with that whatsoever. I have found the writing at times to be very beautiful, very fast-paced. Like, I'm already halfway through and I haven't been bored once. Like, there's a very good flow and pace to the book. The characters definitely have good chemistry and good backstories and so much personality. I've seen a lot of people saying that there's a lot of self-insertion with Blair from Haley, and I really don't see the issue with that because I've never heard that being an issue before this book. In fact, I've heard countless praise for authors who have done that. For example, Sarah J. Maas says that she sees a lot of herself in Nesta, and she put a lot of herself in Nesta, and y'all love that. So I really don't see the issue and like why that's really a topic of a conversation when an author puts themselves into their characters. I honestly just think that makes it more personal and more honest. So I really just don't see the issue there, and I really don't think it reads like a middle school book whatsoever. But yeah, those are kind of just my thoughts so far. I don't understand the hate whatsoever. Are there a couple sentences that are a little clunky? Sure. Is that the biggest deal when reading a fluffy romance book? Absolutely not. I'm going in here for the fun vibes, the chemistry, and the love and the banter, and that is what I'm receiving. So I'm overall having a good time with this book, and I think it is really hitting all of my check marks for what a good fluffy romance book is. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump back into this book. I'm honestly expecting to finish this book today because I am so intrigued to find out what happened with our characters in the past that made them have that falling out. And then in the present timeline, they're not necessarily in the same spots in life yet, so I'm really interested to see how they can kind of reconcile their friendship or their relationship, because it is a second chance romance. So I'm really interested to see how this is all going to play out. I'm also really loving the setting. It's a little coastal town in California, and she's really close to the beach, so you're getting lots of coastal vibes. So the setting is phenomenal. I love a coastal beach read. And honestly, this is hitting all of my check marks for what a fun, fluffy romance book is. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to go ahead and jump back into it and see if I can go ahead and finish it out today. I ended up finishing Just Friends last night, and I honestly absolutely adored this book. I thought it was such an easy and enjoyable read, and the pacing and the flow were actually really strong in this book. I was not bored once, and I feel like the story moved along in a way that really kept me entertained throughout the whole book. And honestly, one of my biggest highlights for this book was the way that our FMC's grief was handled. Like, it felt very raw and real, but at the same time, it wasn't like overly heavy and like forced. Like, it felt very natural and soft in the way that it was kind of just slipped in into her like everyday thoughts and her everyday moments, which overall made it feel very natural. And I feel like the writing also did a really good job at showing emotions rather than telling emotions, which honestly makes emotional moments hit a lot harder, obviously. So I really enjoyed that. And then I absolutely loved our main characters, Blair and Declan. I feel like they both had such strong backgrounds and strong personalities, and then their chemistry just felt so natural and like so easygoing that it did not feel forced whatsoever. And I thought the whole childhood best friends to lovers aspect of it was really cute, and I love seeing them reconnect like in the present day, like post-grad. I thought that was really cute as well. Although I would have loved some more scenes from the past timeline with them being like childhood best friends and everything. I feel like that really would have deepened the history as well as like the emotional connection. I'm also kind of having like mixed feelings about the reasoning to why they drift apart. Part of me thinks it makes total sense, especially in like the present timeline where Blair is now able to kind of understand his perspective because she's going through something similar with her own grief. But at the same time, part of me feels like the conflict should have been bigger to kind of justify them not speaking for 4 years. Other than that though, I really enjoyed it. I thought the coastal setting was really cute, and I loved watching Blair kind of navigate post-grad what she wants to do with her life and kind of just like figuring herself out still. I also appreciate the way that she touched on college friendships and distance, and also that feeling of resentment when you're going through something and the people around you or the people closest to you can't really see you in those moments or like understand what you're going through. I feel like her depiction of that felt very honest and very relatable, so I really appreciate that aspect as well. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. It definitely evoked emotion out of me. It definitely made me feel things, and I feel like as a writer, that is like the main goal of writing, is to make your readers feel something and feel for your characters, and I would say that she successfully did that. I was definitely feeling the emotions that these characters were going through. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really cute, and it definitely had enough emotional anchors to where it wasn't just a fluffy romance, and it was honestly exactly what I was expecting with a YA leaning new adult romance. So I really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. And in my honest opinion, it takes a lot of guts to put your words out there for anybody and everybody to read. So writing a book is definitely a very vulnerable thing. You are allowing people to see pieces of yourself that you don't easily share often. And of course, art is subjective. Everybody is entitled to their own opinions, and not every book is going to match every reader. Like, obviously there's different types of books for a reason. Not every book you read is going to be up your alley. However, I do think there is a difference between reviewing a book and criticizing an author as a person. Not liking a book is one thing, but bullying an author just because you do not like her or you do not share the same beliefs as her is completely unacceptable in my opinion. And I would personally love to see better from our bookish community in that regard. But overall, I thought it was a solid debut novel. Could the editors have been a little more involved? Sure, but that doesn't take away from the heart of the story, and it definitely doesn't make the writing bad. So overall, I thought the story played out beautifully. It was a fun romance book. So like I said, I ended up giving this book 4 stars. That does bring us to the end of today's reading vlog. Let me know in the comments if you plan on reading Just Friends, or if you've already read it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed reading and hanging out with me, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!